introduce me, Roman Bouchard, our co-curator of Pronounce the Beats, and Bill Busari from Modern Beats. These two have known each other for quite some time. I'm sure they'll actually reveal the dates, they're probably longer than you'd expect. Yeah, so again, thank you for coming out to the Museum Museum. Hope you'll enjoy and stay tuned on our socials. We have more monthly slices coming up, be sure to take in the exhibit if you haven't already. Pronounce the Beats, and again, thanks so much. I'm going to pass the mic. We're going to get going.
Greetings, everyone. Thanks for coming out on a cold Thursday night. Tonight we're going to talk pizza. I've known Bill since like probably the late 80s, 4 decades were going on.
Yep.
And we had just moved to New Haven, just up the block on State Street. And my wife was working late nights, so she was a lot of times not getting out till 9 or 10. And we started going to this pizza place.
Small moves, well done, Rolling Rock.
Absolutely. To the point where small meats well done but not burnt was in my wedding vows. Yes, we were probably there sometimes 3 and 4 times a week. You know, I saw you explain to people, no, try it, it's not burnt.
It's not burnt, just try it.
So, let's just go right back to the beginning. Tell me how you got there, because you had just bought the place.
Wow. I'm going to go really back far to where I started. It only take about 10, 15 minutes. 13 years old. I live in Norwalk, Connecticut. I'm working at a Chinese restaurant as a dishwasher. One of my friends was working there, he didn't want to work anymore. I'm like, I'll take the job. So I just showed up and they never noticed it wasn't him. He was like 17, I'm only 13, but I'm like, they didn't care. So I'm working there. So I stopped at this pizza place that was in our neighborhood on the way to the Chinese place every day, and I buy penny candies. And they had Mary Jane's. I like Mary Jane's. And the Italian guy would break my stones every day. I was one of the neighborhood kids, say he would just like to tease. So then one day he says to me, he goes, where do you go every day? So I go to work. He goes, you're too young to work. I'm like, I work at a Chinese place up the street. I wash dishes. He goes, you got a pair of black pants at home? I'm like, I don't know, maybe. I'll ask my mother. He goes, go home, ask your mother. So I go home and I come back with a pair of black pants. He goes, you're my new busboy. I'm like, oh, thank God, it's better than washing dishes like Chinese guys. So every day when I would walk into the pizza place, I grew up in the neighborhood. I was one of the younger kids in the neighborhood. The older kids in the neighborhood weren't up to anything too good. So they were out robbing houses. So they tried to grab me, being a young kid, and say, come on, you gotta go be a lookout. I'm like, I can't, I have to go to work. So I would show up at the pizza place, and the guys in the pizza place would say to me, what the hell are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here till 5 o'clock. I'm like, I'm just here hanging around, because I'm trying not to hang around with those guys. So they're all eating lunch at that time of the day. It's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the phone would ring, it would be a pizza order. They don't want to make it, they're eating lunch. Kid, go make that pizza. I don't know how. Come here, I'm going to show you. So they show me how to make the pizza. So now I'm going there every day, just staring at the phone, going, ring, ring, someone orders something. Because I just want to make pizzas. So I'm not even getting paid, but I'm just there just making pizzas. And then I learned how to cook like that because they would order takeout and they would say, kid, go make that. I don't know how. Come in, I'm going to show you. To where I go back to school, and in those ovens back in those days, there were flip door ovens. I was too short to get my hand in there. So I would put the pizza in, and I would hit my bottom of my arm on the door. And then I would go up and I'd hit the top of my arm on the door. So I had all these marks on my arms. So the principal calls me in his office in school and calls my parents and guidance counselors. They say I'm a cutter and I'm trying to kill myself. No, I'm just making pizza. So it really wasn't that bad. So that was 13. So I stayed in the restaurant business throughout my whole life, I've really never worked anywhere else. Really never made it out of high school. Ended up in summer school senior year to try to graduate. They just let me go anyways. Working for a bunch of different guys, and ended up in Danbury, Connecticut, running a restaurant that they had newly opened up there. And ended up leaving that restaurant, went down to a new restaurant that was opening up and got hired. My wife. So then we left, she's worked at the bank, we're just boyfriend and girlfriend, end up at a restaurant in Fairfield that her father had owned and her brother was leasing. Her brother didn't want to lease it anymore. I said, I'll take it over. So 21 years old, I leased the restaurant in Fairfield and give that a shot. So I'm living in Danbury, driving an hour back and forth, 7 days a week, open and close, and did it for a year, and didn't work out. So the pizza box guy, there was one guy that made all the pizza boxes for every restaurant, Bill Collins Paper Box. And great little old man, he'd come in and take the orders, and he'd show up at 10 o'clock at night, never had a really good schedule, never write anything down, and everyone always got all the boxes. Says, hey, this place in New Haven came up for sale. It was a duress sale, they don't want anyone to know, there was a death in the family. I think you're a good fit for this. Now, I've sworn off pizza now, because I've tried this place for a year, I made no money, I worked hundreds of hours a week and made zero. And I'm out of it now, and I figured I'm just gonna go get a normal job. And that was a Sunday, and Monday we had a meeting with Nick Nuzzo, which had owned the restaurant at the time, at his house in Orange, Connecticut. And Tuesday morning I was making pizzas for Nick Nuzzo, so got dragged right back into it again. And I worked with Nick, that was the spring of '88. I worked with Nick, or for him, through the whole summer. Until the fall, we ended up closing on the restaurant, ended up buying it. Hard deal, it was on, it was off, it was on, it was off. It was all over the place, but ended up closing on it on November the 8th, 1988. So ended up there and owning it by that time. Moved into one of the bedrooms upstairs. Lived upstairs for 5 years, open and closed. And now I reside in North Haven. Moved over there. Since then we had 4 kids in 4 years. 3 girls and a boy. They're 30, 32, and 34, correct?
Yeah, almost.
Almost, so that was close. Almost.
Yeah.
So pretty close. And so that's how I began, and that's how I ended up at Modern at that time period.
Now you also had a slightly colorful, some colorful experiences before Modern. You were a roadie for the Ramones.
So the pizza place that was in my neighborhood that I first started at, and I moved on, ended up turning into being a nightclub. And they actually own nightclubs here in New Haven. They owned the Agora Ballroom over on Whaley Avenue. So became really good friends with the owners. And I was one of the neighborhood kids, so we were always a stagehand. So we'd set up all these microphones and all the PA stacks. And so I ended up going to work with the Ramones. I worked with Chuck Berry. I worked with the Tubes and a lot of big rock and roll people like that. And then once I got to New Haven, I had a friend that ran the New Haven Coliseum, so we served all the pizzas for the backstage for all the bands. So I've been on stage with Guns N' Roses, like I told, with Slash and Aerosmith, walking out doing an encore, eating my pizza, you know. That's pretty cool to me, right? No one else gave a shit, but that's my pizza.
You knew, that was the important thing. Now, so everyone in this room, I'm pretty sure, knows Modern today. Let's talk about Modern in 1988, 1989. How different was it? I mean, what was there a really a clientele like you have today, or was it a slow build?
Yeah, no, it's been a huge, slow, but very steady build for the last 38 years. We've increased volume every year since 1988. Not like Superman, not really fast, but just slowly increased since '88. But also for us and for my mindset, I've put more money back into the place than I've ever taken out of the place. So we've built and expanded and made everything run better and smoother and easier and fixed all the little problems. I'm really good at that. I'm really good at looking at a flow of a situation and seeing how the room flows and to fix the flow, to make it all work so people aren't walking across each other like a factory assembly line type of stuff. And we were always like the redhead stepchild off on the side, you know, and it was, so we started a logo, Know Where the Locals Go. And that was kind of where we started that, like right in the 90s, right in the beginning of the 90s, because we figured out we had the local clientele. We had you guys showing up, you know, bi-weekly, and we had the same people. I knew everybody, every Friday night, every Saturday, everybody that came in. We knew, so it was always the local. We never really got the tourists. State Street didn't get notoriety from the news and the media. It was all about Little Italy, and Worcester Street. And I used to try to explain to people, I think my mic just died, but hello. Yeah. I don't know. I got a deep voice. You can probably hear me anyway. So it was always where the locals go. We never got any of the notoriety that Worcester Street got. But also, I would explain to them, I go, Manhattan has great restaurants in it all over the place, not just in Little Italy. I mean, that's like where the tourists end up. There's a lot of other stuff off the beaten path. So we became that. And then we became the gentler, kinder nation. You know, there was a lot of stories way back in those days. Flo was alive. Flo was a rough woman. And, you know, you'd love her or hate her. There really wasn't an in-between with Flo, you know. She liked you or she didn't like you. She threw you out or she gave you a reservation. And all the people that she threw out, we got. Come on in. We'll take you. Thanks, Flo. Appreciate you. You know, so. And then we would just, you know, what we tried to push up, my wife was on the floor and I was in the kitchen, and it was always give them whatever they want, you know, and it was kind of like, you know, Burger King and just make it your way. If they don't want it cooked that way, fine, I'll cook it, like, just tell me, you know, and I'll make it any way you want me to make it. I don't care. I'm not going to be insulted you don't like it the way I think it should come out. But, so we were known as a kindly, gentler nation, and we got a ton of business from that. It really did. That was kind of like the jump start of people didn't want to be treated like that, you know, and they just, I think that's where our business really started taking off. And then with our employees, same employees all the time. So anytime you come in there, it's the same people. And it still is, you know, 40 years into it, and you can't get rid of them. You know, I mean, it's the servers you can't get rid of. I was telling Gorman the other day, I have 4 kids. One of my daughters had left. She's the free spirit one, lived in New Zealand and everywhere, and she was a DJ in Manhattan, and then comes back, and it's like, why? How can I don't see her at the restaurant. I'm like, there's no room right now. And I can't fire somebody, and this is my own kid, you know, and it's like, but people just don't go anywhere. They don't leave. They just stay there. It's a big cult, you know, and I love it.
Now, when did you start though seeing the lines? I mean, where it would go from, you know,
so we had them periodically on the weekends, right? But not really during the week. And lunch was totally different. COVID changed lunch in the restaurant business for everybody, not just me. People during COVID forgot what time was. So pre-COVID, everyone ate lunch from 12 to 1. Every office here in New Haven, every building, SNET, all these big buildings were here, everyone came in 12 to 1. Maybe the execs came in at 2, but majority of the workers, it was 12 to 1. COVID hit, forget about it. I'm eating lunch at 10 in the morning, I'm eating lunch at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It makes no sense. So that's when it really started for daytime business there. The lines at nighttime, I mean, it's hard to put a day on because it didn't just happen. You know, it progressively got busier and busier and busier, but the last 10 years have just been kind of like out of the park. When Pepe's started with their expansions, I'm sure they're well into it, over 10 years by now.
They're pushing 20 at this point.
20. So, okay, so yeah, we can go all the way back to then, and time flies again. And COVID made even me forget about what time it is. I think Sally's, they sold out in 18.
It was a couple of years before
Yeah,
COVID, yeah.
I think 18. So look how far that's been gone.
Yeah, because I remember they had the whole tent outside there,
Yep.
and that was all.
That was all during COVID, and that was new owners.
Yeah,
That wasn't
that was
Ricky and Bobby, they were gone by then.
Yeah.
And I'm friends with all those guys, and I'm friends with the guys at Pepe's, and Francis, and Ricky, and Bobby, and all of us. There's no animosity at all amongst any of us. It's a funny thing, because the press wants to say stuff like that, but for all of us, we laugh at it. I mean, there is nothing, there's like no trade secrets, there's no Coca-Cola in the vault. The secret,
Once again, there's the mother. You have the mother for the sourdough.
I do, and they don't do, see, okay, so I'll explain something. So all three of us all make pizzas. We all make pizzas differently. All three of us have different ovens. All three of us have different ingredients. All three of us have different theories on it. So, yes, we're all right here in New Haven, we're blocks from each other, and the items look to be very similar, but they're not. They're totally different. And if you're a car guy, you know what a Mercedes is, or what a Porsche is, or what an Aston Martin is. And they're all cars, but they're all different. And we don't care what each other do. You know, there's no trade secret. You know, everyone has their own feeling on it, or what they were taught. At my place, every single person that makes pizza for you at Modern has learned at Modern. It's never made a pizza anywhere else. No one there. No one in their entire kitchen. They've made pizza for someone else after they've worked for me. Or during, as a side job, like some of them, you may see some of them on a green truck or something to go around to help somebody else out. You may see them do that, but no, they all learn from Modern, and they've all come up through the grapevine of Modern. So you start off as a prep guy, and then the prep guys move up to go cut pizzas, and the cut pizza guys go move to be what we call as a dresser, so you're helping dress the pizza. And then you have your main pizza guy, your main pizza maker that's stretching the dough, and then you have your oven guy that's cooking the pizzas. So there's 4 individuals on each of those ovens. So like tonight there'll be 8 of them, and then there'll be one person that we call as a runner. He's just refilling. So whatever they need, he refills. So he's looking at toppings, they need onions, they need more dough, they need another bucket of cheese, they need this, they need that. And then he'll fulfill all that. So there's about 22 people there on a shift at nighttime to be able to run the place. If you walk in the door, you may only see 6 to 8 people, and you may think that's what it is, but behind the scenes, and the basement of Modern is completely finished, and it is larger than Modern because it runs deeper, but it runs the same distance as the dining room does. And all that is prep and storage down here. So there's a whole nother team downstairs to be able to pull off what is done upstairs. So it looks easy, and it looks like, hey, I got my pizza in 10, 15 minutes. That's simple. You know, like anyone can do that. Not till you come in and start looking around, and then you see how it really runs, and how it It really goes, and it gets very interesting. I just had a friend of mine he builds submarines for the U.S. government. Very smart individual, and I brought him in the kitchen on a Monday while we were closed and gave him the whole tour, made pizzas with them and stuff, and he's like, I had no clue, I had no idea. You know, from sitting in the dining room all these years, I did not know this is what it entails to pull this off. And it's, you know, we start days in advance. The dough is done. What you're gonna have today was made 2 days ago. The mother, we're the only ones that still use a mother. A mother is a yeast. That's a natural airborne yeast, just like it would be for wine and grapes. So grapes, you need yeast to create alcohol. So that's on the outside of the grapes, it's actually in the air. So it's on wheat also, and that's the way they made bread 1,000 years ago. We still make bread that way. And we use that that's how the modern dough is made. And that mother is over 100 years old that we use in that. So it's a bigger process than what it just looks like from sitting in the dining room.
But you even told me the other day that William, your son,
Yeah.
he didn't just, because he's your son, he didn't just jump in there, he
No.
started at the bottom.
Yeah, when he was supposed to go to Wall Street, finance major at Quinnipiac, walks halfway down, he has an interview on Wall Street, he's walking down Fifth Avenue and sees a for hire sign for interns at Barstool Sports, which he's never done any video work or anything else for. Decides to go in and apply and gets hired. So his was supposed to be on Wall Street, that's what college was paid for, but he's gonna work at Barstool Sports. I said, all right, fine. We let it go for about a year, he lived in the city and stuff, and he didn't like it. And he didn't like finance, he didn't like losing people's money, he didn't like people yelling at him on the phone all day, he didn't like cold calling. So he's like, how about if I come and work with you? Now, I told Gorman this the other day, all my kids never worked for me during high school years or anything. We didn't want them in a restaurant. We didn't want the restaurant to be like the place that their friends hung out, or they got friends because their mom and dad owned this cool pizza place and they're all gonna come there and hang out. So we never did that. My kids never grew up in the restaurant, like when they were young. They've all worked there since, and after college, they've all went to college and all worked there after college. But it was like, my wife and I would joke about it. They didn't know they didn't have to pay for pizza. They were like in high school and they thought they'd still have to pay when they went there to go eat the pizza. Like, no, y'all, really? I don't have to pay for this? So he came in, he's with me full time now, and he started back at us. I said, you know, if you come to work for me, I have guys that have been here from the beginning. And if Poppy tells you to go get a mop and clean the walk-in box, you're going to get a mop and you're going to go clean the walk-in box. You can clean it better than anybody. I get it. He played D1 soccer in college, so he gets pecking order. He knows what a pecking order is, so he goes, I get it, no problem. So he started at the bottom, and now he's worked his way back up to the top. So, but it shows good with employees too. You know, it shows the respect that I have for my employees. That I'm not going to push somebody above them, on top of them, tell them what to do. That hasn't been there as long as they have, and hasn't put the sweat equity in yet. So
Now, let's move forward a little bit. When we first had conversations when I was making the documentary,
yeah.
I learned something that I did not realize, was that you were single-handedly responsible for the Red Sox winning the World Series and
That is correct.
and Bambino.
Yes.
Tell us how you worked that miracle.
All right. So Joe Consiglione, one of the announcers for the Red Sox, local Hamden guy, great customer, good friend. Calls me out one day, says, Billy, goes, I got the owners of the Red Sox. This is off season. They want to come in and eat. Can you save me a table? It's during lunch, middle of the afternoon. Sure, Joe, no problem. So they come in, Larry Lucchino, I meet Larry first, and He had Euclid with him back then. Euclid was one of the bigger players and stuff, and they were touring around New Haven. So Joe comes and says hi, and so they go to sit down, and Larry says, "Yeah, I hate to tell you, I'm a really big Sounders fan." I said, "I don't really care, I'm a Yankee fan anyway, so it doesn't matter." And interesting, because I grew up in Stanford, I'm Italian, and my dad won the Little League World Series, very first one. I mean, so they're Yankee fans die hard. And so he sits down and they eat, and afterwards I went up to the table, I was leaving, and I was going to the bar next door, Christopher Martin's, eat lunch. That's what I would do normally every day. And I go over to the table and I said, "Nice meeting you guys, hope you enjoyed it. Larry, nice meeting you, good luck this year." And he goes, wait, we gotta talk. He goes, "I really think I'm a Modern fan." I said, "I got a feeling I'm a Red Sox fan." And he goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going next door to eat my lunch." And the bartender over there, his name is John Miller. I said, "Die-hard Red Sox fan." He actually put a dish on this big giant tower in the back of his house just to get the Red Sox, because you guys canceled in this area. You couldn't get the Red Sox games at one time. He goes, "I want to meet him." I said, "Come on, let's go." So we go next door to the bar. John says hi to me, and he looks at him. And I'm like, yeah, it's Larry Lucchino. "Yeah, that's Kevin Euclid too." And he's like, "What the fuck?" So we ended up having this running joke, Larry and I, after this. So I got his number, and I gave him my number. And his wife at the time was Stacy. And every time they were playing, they would come out of New York and go back to Boston, and they would stop in and eat. So this is the year that the curse gets broken. Theo Epstein would come in all the time too, and Theo was supposedly the brain behind breaking the whole curse. He was a Yale student, so I had known Theo. So now every time I went up to the Red Sox game, I'd bring Larry pizzas. And I would go up, and I'd go to his office and sit in his office, and we'd watch a game, and they would eat the pizzas. So that year is the year they won. And they attributed it to all the pizzas I kept bringing in all the time. So Joe Consiglione calls me up and says, "We got the duck parade, we got the duck boat parade going on after the World Series. Can you get me pizzas?" I said, "Joe, you get me through security, I'll get pizzas to you." He says, "You call me when you get near the stadium." So I called him when I got near the stadium. I went down to Modern in the morning, and I grabbed the guy, John Miller, the bartender from next door. I said, "You're coming with me." My son William came at the time, and we made pizzas early in the morning, and we drove them to Fenway. God's honest truth. I'm at a red light, and it's traffic all blocked up, and I'm trying to figure out the back way into Fenway. There's a car next to me, rolled out a window, I motion to the guy, I look at him, he's a Domino's delivery guy. And I go, "You know a back way into Fenway?" He goes, "I'm going that way, follow me." Like a Domino's delivery guy bringing me into the back way of Fenway. So I end up parking, I call up Joe, I said, "We're here." He goes, "Get over to gate D, I'm calling security right now." So we're carrying all these pizzas through, and we're coming up, and security sees me, and I'm waiting for security, and they split the crowd like Moses split the Red Sea. They just moved away, and now this is on Yorkie Way. And all the people in the bars on the second floor, they can see the top of the boxes say Modern. They start chanting, "Modern, Modern." So we're walking into Fenway, and the entire crowd out there is chanting Modern. So we get the pizzas in, Joe meets me, he says, "Send the pizzas," he goes, "bring these to the corporate dining," because we have a dinner that night with John Henry and all the other owners of the team, and the team with their wives, and that was the only people invited to it. And that's where we're going to present the pizzas to. So he takes my son to go introduce him to the whole team. So he gets a couple balls signed by everybody, which he played with in the streets, and dogs chased him, and now Pedro's signature got eaten by the local dog in our neighborhood. Anyways, we lost all those. So now we go to the dining hall later that day to do this big presentation to all the owners. I've been in the restaurant my entire life. I could tell something is wrong. I'm sitting there and I'm looking around and I could see the look on these people's faces and they're on their walkie-talkies and I'm like, something's wrong. They messed up something here. Next thing I know, a guy calls me over, he goes, they brought the pizzas at corporate headquarters, not corporate dining, and they ate them all. There's no more pizzas to give the owners. He goes, but we have a box. Here's a box. You're gonna walk over to the owner's table and pretend like you're giving them a pizza, but it was only an empty box. So that's my Red Sox story. So I've taken full credit on them on breaking that curse from all the pizzas I brought them the entire season, because Joe would call me if they were in a losing slump during the playoffs. He says, any way you can get pizzas up here, we really need to win tonight. And I'm, all right, I'll drive them up there again and drive back up to Fenway to bring them pizzas.
No, but this is going beyond this now.
Yeah, so now I did it again the following year. I did it for Yale. Keith Lillian, I was friends with Keith, the hockey coach, and they're going to the national championship. And we brought pizzas to the team as they were going through the motions of winning all these games here. And then we kept going, kept bringing them to every viewing party until they won the national championship. There was pizzas from the beginning to the end to every single game. So I've taken full credit for Yale winning the national championship.
Now, I think this could be a great side gig where, certain teams come to you, and I mean, you get a bidding wars here. Right?
Well, I did go out to Chicago to see because Steve Epstein had broke the curse for the Cubs. So I was in Chicago with you.
That's right.
For the screening of your movie, and called Theo and he brought me to one of the Cubs games. So I said, well, I can't help you now. You already broke the curse. But anyway.
Now, going back to modern, how do you feel? Do you feel that pizza has changed at all? Because I know we've always had talks about using the best ingredients.
Yes.
And when you talk about the three places being very different, every single place has a different crust, has a different cheese, has a different sauce. Absolutely. And you guys have an amazing salty cheese. I mean, your moots to me is, I always said to you, it is my death row meal.
It is the most expensive mozzarella you can buy for a reason. Very high quality of butter fat in it. And that's why our ovens, Modern's oven, is a little different than Pepe's and Sally's. They're kind of similar. Pepe's and Sally's have more like what you would call a French bread oven. They have a lower ceiling, a lower trajectory in their ceiling. And we have a beehive. So our ceiling goes up like this, like a beehive, and theirs kind of comes across. So we have a lot of convection heat on top. So there's an open flame in the oven. So we have a lot of top heat and not a lot of bottom heat. So we need the butter, fat, and the cheese not to burn. Otherwise it would just blacken. It would just be burned. So we were forced to buy a good product. The downfall of this whole thing, and kind of why we're here, I think, and the topic tonight is, you know, being a family-owned place and being the last family-owned, that once I consider private equity of nowadays as the corporate raiders of the Milkins of the 80s, that they destroy places, they don't build them. You know, they just come in and rape and rob. To where they used to be, you know, a great vehicle to build something because they had so much capital. So it was, you could go out and build. To my feeling on them nowadays is, you know, once these bean counters get involved. So I did a short, I've never, like I said before, I've never had a real job. I've only worked in restaurants. I've never worked in a corporate restaurant. I've only worked for privately owned restaurants that I know the owners, because I always felt like my work wouldn't be appreciated in the corporate world as it is in the private sector. Because I normally go above and beyond on anything that I do. It didn't matter if I was getting paid or not. And so I worked for Sbarro's. I get invited to this dinner in Manhattan from a mutual friend. I don't know the other people that are there, but I know the guy that owns the restaurant. And it was one of Mario Batali's restaurants. Esca was the name of it. Dave Pasternak was the chef and owner, and I knew Dave. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go for a free meal to go see Dave. Absolutely, I'll meet you in Manhattan. So I went down to meet him. There was 2 other gentlemen there having dinner. We had dinner all night. We talked and stuff like that. At the end of dinner, the guy goes, I want you to work for me. I'm like, yeah, I already have a job. I thought, no. He goes, no, I own all the Sbarros. I want you to come on. I want you to fix it. I want you to fix a pizza. He goes, go home, come up with a price, come up with a number. If you're interested, give me a call. So the guy invited me. I called him. I'm like, John, what the hell are we going to do? He goes, just give him a price. I go, where are we going to go with this? I don't even know how to price this. So he just throws something crazy at him. So I threw something crazy at him. The guy goes, okay, sure. Son of a bitch. I should ask for more. But anyways, it was a great experience for me. And people asked me after I got done with it, they said, did you really tell them the truth? Did you really tell them like exactly what they're doing wrong and stuff? I said, absolutely. They paid me a real lot of money and I wasn't going to lie to them. Because aren't you scared they'll like kind of be a competition for you or kind of copy what you're doing and stuff? I said, no. I said, as soon as the bean counters get a hold of the numbers that I threw out, these guys are going to go, there's no way in hell we're fixing this pizza. They do $500 million, they were doing $500 million a year in sales then, and I'm telling them you got to buy cheese for $1.25 more than what you were paying in a $500 million company. So there's no way you're going for that. So I don't have nothing to worry about. CEO got fired after we were done, and they went back to their old ways, and they're still there. So going back to corporate America and going back to private equity, that's, God forbid, I mean, that's not God forbid, but that is what's happening to Worcester Street, and that's what's going to happen to Worcester Street. And it's non-stoppable. It's not going to stop. It's only going to get worse. The bean counters get involved, the product goes downhill, they fire all the old-time employees, they get rid of all the people who are making good money there, they cheapen up the product, and they keep adding on. Once you saw chicken wings at Sally's on Worcester Street, I was shaking my head, like, what the hell is this? You can get chicken wings at Sally's? I mean, this isn't what Sally's was. And they bastardize the name. And you know, they'll never be the same again. It's gone. That's it. It's finished. And it's sad to see it go. You know, and you know, Pepe's does a little bit of a better job. You know, I'm friendly with the guys that own it now and stuff, but still, it's corporate America. Once you have to make that number. You have to make that bottom line number. You have people that invest in it that want their money. There's only one way to do it. You're cheating on labor, or you're cheating on quality of food. You know, everything else is pretty much the same. Different ranks on different parts of America where you open up. But there's only so many ways to make money, and that's what happens to it. They start cutting quality of the price. And for me to sell, you know, they've tried to buy me, and they've offered to buy me. But they kill all my employees. Said you're going to get choked up.
Get choked up really easily. I love that.
Baby.
I think, but that shows in the pies.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it really does.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not very, I mean, I don't do it for the money.
I mean, the pie that I'll probably have tonight
Yeah.
is the same pie. It tastes exactly the same as when you were bringing it over to me.
Same stuff, same ingredients, same everything.
You know, and I mean, I think that goes a long way.
And even with rising costs now, you know, I mean, I've been debating now, I haven't changed prices in 2 years, but I'm gonna have to because of oil. You know, our fuel costs for our ovens, I don't know if you guys know, but modern ovens are run on oil. And the fuel cost of that is just tremendous right now. And with this war going on, it's just nothing to absorb. You just can't absorb it. You know, it just gets that costly. It's like truckers paying $8 a gallon for diesel. I mean, it hits everybody. You know, I don't care what it is. It's gonna come. So, but I mean, but I have so much guilt in that.
The explosion of publicity for New Haven being the pizza capital of the world. In
Yes,
recent
Dave
years.
Portnoy has done such a great job at that. You know, you love him, hate him, or whatever he is, but I take him with a grain of salt, but he's done so much for New Haven. I was on an airplane with you and the mayor, and I tried to ask the mayor to give Dave the keys to the city or something, just acknowledge. Because the mayor is sitting, and he's the one, he's telling millions of people that New Haven is the pizza capital of the world. Just give the guy a little bit of credit, and the mayor told me no. But anyways, that's politics, and we're here to talk about pizza, not politics, so.
No, but
It's a lot of fun.
but you are right. I mean, what he's done for, especially smaller businesses also all around the country.
All small businesses,
Yeah.
too, not corporate America.
Yeah.
Yeah, all small stuff, and he never bastardizes somebody, even if he doesn't give you a good score, unless you're a complete idiot about it, but he never says anything that bad about it, and he always tries to get people to go to their mom and pop places, and
Did I ever tell you this story? When we interviewed him about 2 years before he came public with the tweets,
Yeah.
and we got him to say it for the movie. He didn't want to say it because of the fourth place he thought brought the level of pizza. He said, if it's just Sally's, Pepe's, and Modern, yes, New Haven's the pizza capital of the world, but this other place brings it down.
And
Me
he
and
wouldn't
Dean
do it.
Falcone said, no one considers that good pizza anymore. And he goes, well, in that case, New Haven's the pizza capital of the world. So that's what we had the first time he ever said it. I won't mention which place that is.
yeah, he came to my place, and no one knew he was there. I walked by the counter, and I see him standing at the counter, and the counter guy was ringing him up and charging him. I'm like, what are you doing? You can't charge El Prez. And the counter kid, young kid, I figured he'd know who he was more than me. And he's like, wow, who's this guy? I go, that's El Prez, you can't charge him. Just give him the pizza. So we were the first place that he did in New Haven. He didn't do any of the other places. He stopped at Modern first. And he gave us an 8.8, which was really a high score, especially because it was the first New Haven one that he did. So he had nothing really judge it all on. And then he gave Sally's, I think, a 9.1, and he gave Pepe's an 8.6 or something.
Yeah, it was.
Pepe's was lower than what I was, but yeah. I just went down and did his festival. He does a one-bite festival in New York. He did 8,000 slices in one day out of a parking lot in New York. I'm gonna kill him.
Are you doing that again?
No,
Okay.
I felt bad. I'd said no to him 2 years running, and I'm like, before I end up dying or something, I gotta just do this guy a one for justice. He's done so much for us, and we didn't do anything for him. So I just felt like I'll do something for him. And it's donation stuff.
Yeah.
So he donates all the money. So I don't mind doing that kind of stuff.
I think it's time I'm gonna open it up to the audience. And I think you got the hard questions.
Yeah.
So who wants to go first? Go for it.
I was in Vermont for a long time, and there was a baker in Chester called Bob Ugly. And this is the first I'd heard about that he baked bread differently every day because of the weather.
Yeah.
And then down here, I hear that there's something special about the water, and I'm just wondering if you could comment about the water and the humidity, and if that changes your recipe at all, or
Well, I've done commercials for the water authority, so. I can say that. Saying it is all about the water.
Yeah.
So that's what the commercial is. And I also launched a can of Modern water that we were gonna sell. And it was actually, I wanted to sell it in Florida. And it's a cool can. It's Modern logo on it, and then there's a QR code to scan it. Goes to a video of me teaching you how to make dough. So it's New Haven water, and then there's a dough recipe on the can. And it makes one can makes 4 small pizza doughs. So if you're at home making it with your kids and stuff, it was a cool, like a gag gift type of a thing. We didn't think it was gonna sell here, but I thought maybe it could sell down in Florida a lot, but I just ran out of time and never chased it. But that goes on with the water. But yes, the humidity and everything else changes. drastically. Our flour, we use a non-bleached, non-bromated organic flour. So in baker's terms, you kind of got to know what you're doing to use it. The bromated doughs, bromated flours and the bleached flours are a lot easier to idiot-proof, kind of. But every day, every batch of dough is different. It's done by eye and feel and stretch. Once the glutens activate and you're pulling your stretch on it, and as it all stays together, it's done like that every day. Every batch of every day. So we don't have, there's not a piece of paper hanging up in the dough room that says this much water, this much flour, this much yeast, this much that. The yeast, we're basic dough, so it's flour, water. We don't use regular yeast, as I said before, we use a mother, olive oil and salt. And that's all there is in it. There's no conditioners, there's nothing else in it. Some people put malts in it to brown the crust and all that kind of stuff. We don't. And so whoever's mixing the dough, today was my son. My son made dough today, and it's all done by eye, and it's adjusted daily. It's every bag of flour is a different weight.
Yep.
You know, the commercial guys, Starbucks, Domino's, those guys, they had it all done and prepackaged, you know, and I'm sure, Sally's and those guys are going that way too.
Yeah.
It's the only way that they're gonna be able to consistently be able to come up with the same product.
Has the recipe changed at all in the 40 years you've been there?
Mine?
Yeah.
My recipe changed, in the very beginning, they were using a brewer's yeast, and I went back to the mother. They got away from the mother because it's easier. Mother's harder. So I went back to the mother 30-something years ago, and they had used, back in those days, hydro-generated oils. You know, a lard, a Crisco, something like that. And I got away from that and went back to olive oil. So those are the two changes in the dough since I've been there.
And by the way, anyone who knows anything about sourdough, usually you see the mother, it's in a little jar or something. His mother's in a tub. It's about this one, and it's about this tall, and I swear they feed small children.
But she's over 100 years old. So I got it 35 years ago from an artisan baker at that time told me it was almost 100 years old. So that thing's been kicking around. Like, we close up once a year, and someone has to go feed it. We call it the bitch. Because she's a pain in the ass. Someone's got to go feed the bitch. You know? Who's going to be around to feed the bitch? Anyone going around? Someone's going to be around. Can you go feed her, please? And by feeding her, what you do is you add more flour into it. You add flour and hydration, more water into it. And that gives the yeast more sugar to eat to create the fermentation of it.
When you are closed for those 2 weeks when you're gone fishing, how long does it take to reheat the oven?
We leave them on.
Oh, you do leave them on now, okay.
Yeah. Unless we're doing work in them. Unless we gotta get in there and point and mortar and fix, because there's humps and cracks and all kinds of stuff that happens in there. So fireboxes fall and bricks fall into them, that kind of stuff. So we kind of use that down period to get in there, examine it, clean it out, clean up the firebox, repoint stuff. Normally I go in there, but now I've been finding the smaller guys.
Okay, another question.
More of a comment.
Yeah.
So my wife has a gluten intolerance,
Yeah.
not an allergy. And years ago, because we grew up in New Haven, years ago she said, I gotta have pizza. We gotta go to Marlin, I'm just gonna suck it up. And where she's able to eat your pizza without any reactions. Have you heard this before? And
Yeah.
I think you kind of answered the question because of the sourdough.
Correct, and that's where a lot of that comes from. And so our dough is not as heavy as some of the other ones, because it doesn't have any of those additives in it. and people are able to digest it easier. It's easier on your digestive system than some of those other doughs with different additives in them. And that's what, I mean, you know, they talk about it nowadays with the wheat of Europe and the wheat of America, you know, with the GMOs and stuff that are, all the wheat is growing into, but they don't have it in Italy, and why is everyone in Italy, my wife's family, right? They're all skinny over there, so we eat pasta and bread all day long. So there's a big debate going on right now about that kind of stuff. We use, it's 100% organic, so it's as close as you can come to it. It's a 00 flours, or what you would call the Italian flours, but we use one that, it's actually King Arthur buys it from the same mill that I buy it from. You know, it's just a non-branded mill that makes for everybody, and most of our wheat comes from North Dakota. So that's where the mill's out in North Dakota.
Other question? Other questions?
To where you ask those other pizza places where they get, they'll have no idea where it comes from.
Yes.
So I'm curious about toppings, basically.
Yeah.
You know, 50 years ago or more, if you went into Pepe's, for example, you know, the board was this big.
Yep.
There was 8 things on it, maybe. So, well, you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Now the toppings are all over the map. So at Modern, my experience at Modern is a little bit later, starting maybe 40 years ago, something like that. The ingredient list seems to have gotten bigger. Is that something that you do occasionally, experiment with a newer topping, or you just?
Not at all. I have not expanded on that except for eggplant. I think I added eggplant. I added the veggie bomb.
Which is
Which
very
is
good.
excellent.
Yeah,
At Thursday, as a matter of
I
fact.
think those are maybe the only 2 pizza toppings, correct? Right? Can you remember anything? No. That I've
We got
ever
rid of,
added
the crab.
on. You know, people ask me, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And it's doable, right? I love broccoli ramen sausage on a pizza. Do I make a broccoli ramen sausage? No, I don't. We're just so busy, and it's just so much prep and so much time in a day to do what we do. We feel like we put out a broad enough menu to, you could pick and choose. That's, you know, I said this before to one of the cameras, and what makes pizza different. You know, pizza different than hamburgers and hot dogs. You run out of toppings really fast on hamburgers and hot dogs. You don't run out of toppings on pizza. You can customize a pizza to any way you want it. You want to be a vegan? You can come, like, people come to eat at the restaurant all the time. They're like, well, do you offer vegan food? Everything's vegan. What I mean, there's no meat or anything in the dough. There's no animal products in the dough. You put tomato sauce on it. Then you just want to put broccoli or olive oil and say no grated cheese. Fine, now you're vegan. You know, so it's very customizable, you know, pizza is. And we had specialty pizzas, but you're allowed to swap any of that stuff anywhere you want it, anywhere you want it to go. It doesn't matter to us. You want a quarter of this, a quarter of that, half of this, you know, that pizza's very customizable. But no, I have not changed or added on to that. That was like that when I got there. So 38 years ago, it was like that.
What's the single most popular topping?
You know, if you look at it, it's still cheese and pepperoni. It really is. It's still the 2 basics. You know, cheese being probably the best, the #1 seller, and pepperoni right behind it.
Yeah. When you came to New Haven, were you surprised by the whole idea of this tomato sauce pie, or was it?
No, because we had them, and actually when we were in Fairfield, we had that pizza was on the menu there. That menu down there didn't even have mozzarella on it. It's still called Scamotes. So Scamotes was before mozzarella. Because you got to realize that our hard mozzarella that we use now on pizza wasn't invented. So the red tomato pie, as with, you know, Sally's original or Pepe's original tomato pie, that's all you did. You put tomato sauce on it, and then you put a handful of pecorino romano on it and some olive oil. We still, I mean, obviously that's still one of our go-to pies, but that was what pizza was, you know. And then as cheeses started changing, we started using one cheese that was Sargentino. It was one of the harder cheeses, then Scamotes. Scamotes is like a hard, fresh mozzarella. And they started using Scamotes, and then they got into the mozzarella that we have nowadays, that we use. Yes, sir.
What's the story behind your name, Modern? What is that all about?
So, funny story. So where Modern is now originally was called Tony's Ovens. Tony Tolai was the guy's name that owned it from Tolai's New State. He owned that too. Tony owned a lot of restaurants. And Tony was going to open a restaurant down the street, down Olive and State, down that way, where the concert hall was. And that one had a bar in it, and he wanted to take the name Tony and bring it with him. So when he sold the restaurant to one of the guys that worked for him, this guy Nick Nuzzo, that I ended up buying a restaurant from, where the gas station is next door to Modern was a tenement. And on the bottom floor of the tenement was a drugstore. And State Street at that time was a lot of predominantly Polish. That's why you have St. Stanislaw Church down there. And there was a Polish pharmacy. And Nick used to hang around in there during the day when he had nothing to do. He would hang around and talk to the pharmacist. So he said to the pharmacist, he goes, "Hey, Tony just sold me the place. He's going to go open another place, but he wants me to change the name. And I don't know what the hell I'm going to call this place." So the Polish guy says, "Why don't you call it Modern? It's new to you."
And that
That's
was,
where Modern came from.
that was like 45, 46. That was like 45, 46, I
40,
believe.
1947 or 1948, right
Is it that?
around
Okay,
there,
all
yeah.
right. So I mean,
Yeah.
40 years before you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes, back then?
I've heard that New Haven has one of the highest concentrations per capita of independent pizzerias, if not in the country, maybe the world. But, why do you think we're so good at keeping our independent pizzerias? And I think we only have one Domino's for a college town with 40,000 students, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about that?
Well, like for me, I could probably name 5 local pizzerias, guys that work for me that own now. He knows some of them, So I think some of that is the reasoning behind it, because we have a high concentration of pizza now, right? So then they all try to go out and do it on their own. I mean, that's kind of what America's like, right? So you don't want to, most people don't work in a pizza place for somebody else for a long, extended period of time. The restaurant business in general, I try to explain to people all the time, are flybys. Except for fancy restaurants and you're going to be a high-end chef, most restaurants, the waiters, waitresses, second jobs, students, divorce, nighttime job, bartenders, pizza guys, it's all like that. So I think, to what we were saying, why there's so many independents, we have a very large saturation of pizza now that decide to go out and do it on their own.
Also, so we still also have the largest per capita of Italians, which I think also feeds into that. But
Yes,
yeah.
How long did it take you before you were comfortable leaving the restaurant and having it run?
Who said I'm comfortable? I'm never comfortable. I was there until I walked through these doors today. But I won't go back. No. I'm never 100% comfortable. But that's just me, just the way I'm wired. But I don't let it become an issue. I don't let it become a problem. I raised my family, made sure I attended all the sports.
May I say something?
Okay.
The only time it's comfortable is when the restaurant is closed, 1 week a year.
And that's my life. And maybe then I'm not, but yeah. No, but I did try to, make sure I attended all my children's things the way they're supposed to. And then I would leave and go back to the restaurant.
Family dinner.
Yeah, family dinners. I go home and eat dinner at night.
Back there?
Oh, I read so many numbers, but how many pizzas have you sold in the 38 years? Like, how many do you move a week? People always speculate.
Yeah, 200 About 300,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah, from 250 to 300,000 a year. So, and I'm pretty old. So I've made a lot of pizzas, like millions.
What is,
Literally, truthfully.
Bill, what's your out plan? I mean, what is gonna happen when you decide?
So my exit strategy,
Yeah.
we had this conversation with tax people. So that get me down at a table, which I'm uncomfortable at. And, okay, what's your exit strategy? What are you thinking? I go, kind of view the restaurant like a marriage. And my attorney looks at me and goes, I don't understand, what do you mean by that? Till death do us part? And he's like, really? You don't have any exit strategy, like to go, like move to Florida or something? No. No, I'm very happy doing what I do. You know, and I'm fortunate enough that I consider myself exited already because I'm officially off the schedule. So I'm not needed to be there at any particular time of any particular day. So it's not like I'm watching the Oven Tuesday night from 5 to 9. I'm off of that schedule as of right now. But that changes. That changes on help. You know, we're very fortunate with help right this second. So I'm able to be off that schedule. Something changes, I go back on that schedule. You know, someone gets sick, vacations, family emergencies, something else, I'm back in that schedule. I made pizzas on Monday. I did a fundraiser Monday. So I open up just for a charity, and I make the pizzas. So I made 50 pies by myself on Monday for a charity event. So I'm still hands-on, still do that thing.
Sam, you have a question?
You asked my question, that was it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was easy.
Yes, way back there.
Have you hired any 13-year-olds?
I did, how old do you think Adam was? Adush. Remember Adam? Adam was like 14.
Yeah, he was a local.
He was a local kid, he was a local Polish kid, Adush was his name. And he came to me and asked me for a job. And it was like, I was just heartbroken. And so I gave him a job as a busboy. And I think he was 14. I think he was probably only 14. And I didn't have a busboy then. The job didn't exist. Like, we didn't have that. And the waitress is like, what are you talking about? I gotta give some of my tips to this kid? And I'm like, yeah, he's gonna work here, he's gonna clean your tables, and you're gonna give him 10% of your tips. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. So it's like almost a mutiny on me. I hired this kid, he's gonna take 10% of their tips. And, but you know, in the beginning, the place was that slow, that small, that we didn't have counter help. We didn't have someone to answer the phone. The waitresses answered the phone and waited on tables, and sat the people, and cleaned the tables. So, she did actually. I knew I wasn't getting out of this without being in a doghouse. Never bring your wife to these things. But yes, I have hired 13-year-olds, and Adam did stay with me through manager. He was one of my first full-time managers as he graduated college. He stayed with me for a very long time, probably almost what's that? Oh, he's a priest now. See, I think I'm good with
We got time for one more, guys. Go ahead.
So you mentioned your son works at the restaurant.
Correct.
Is he interested enough in the business that you see him kind of taking over once you sort of?
You know, this is a very interesting question, and it's a question that everybody asks. Every single person asks me. You know, he's more involved than my daughters. My daughters are as capable as he is to run a business. But modern is, as it is right now, it's too big of an animal for one person. I would not, kind of the reasoning that the kids never came to work at the restaurant until they were done with school. My wife and I both never went to school. You know, neither of us. We never experienced that. I never experienced going to a prom or something like that because you were at the restaurant. You know, growing up at 13 years old, my boss was not letting me out. My boss used to wait for me as I was walking to school and roll down the window, I need you in the kitchen today, get in. And I'm like, I'll write you a note. And I would go to work instead. And you want better for your kids. So I never wanted my kids to work. We did 120-hour work weeks like it was nothing, you know. First 5 years of the place, she worked with me, open and close every day. Hundreds of hours a week, never went out to dinner, didn't do anything like that. And we weren't chasing money. We were just trying to run the business and trying to run it correctly. And so I never wanted my kids to have that much stress on them as the stress that I grew up with. So for one person to just walk away and say, here you go, it's too much. So to your point, you know, it wouldn't be one person. And that's why I foresee myself never leaving, because I still have so much impact there. And, I mean, daily I make decisions that someone else wouldn't see, or I can see something happening before it happens because I've done it for so long. You know, so I keep teaching him. And he's been in, he's learning, and he learns every single day. But when that point is, when that cutoff is, I don't know. I don't know where that is until I lose my
With
marbles.
4 kids, you got enough manpower to kind of split it up.
Yeah, it's still a bigger animal than that. And then, you know, 4 kids, but I also have employees that have been with me 40 years. You know, guys are in the kitchen. 40 years in my kitchen, you know, making pies and, you know, but they're family men. They own 2-family houses. They have other incomes. They made a living. You know, we were fortunate with that, but they were fortunate to find me too, as a restaurant owner, because no one gives them what I give them. And that's why no one ever leaves. And then they leave, I'll never take them back. If they leave on bad terms. You leave on good terms, you give me your 2 weeks notice, and you want to go try business for yourself, go ahead. I'll help you as much as I can help you. And then you're more than welcome to come back. But if you leave me, say you're going to go work for Pepe's because they offered me $1 more an hour, have fun.
Before we wrap it up, I'm going to tell you 2 things. Our next monthly slice is Thursday, May 14th, and we're going to go into a lot of the science of pizza with Scott Wiener from Scott's Pizza Tours of New York. And he's going to argue with me, and he's probably going to tell us that, you know, New York has good pizza. We will cut him, you know, at the knees. And also, a great way to support what we're doing here, we have a merch table downstairs. Buy a t-shirt, buy a mug, buy anything we've got for sale down there. It really does help the museum, and it helps events like this. And I thank you all for coming, but I really thank you, Bill.
Yeah, thank you.